Go.
What's up, everyone? We've just been generally really freaking busy, along with the fact that the Oilers hadn't been a lot of fun to watch, so we weren't feeling all too motivated to jump on and start casting again. Going on with all the winning, and who's responsible for it, who is the perpetrator in our obvious rebuild 4.0. The fact that Nuge Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Koskinen are all roaring and trying to get context in terms of why they're doing as good as they are, and address the fact that our precious captain has just been marked by the NHL as a very clear goon, and then finally touch base with what's going on with this brand new. Adam, if you right-click on your taskbar, you can click to hide it. That might make the stream look a little bit cleaner. Anyway, we are in a very casual state today, and as such, we encourage you to ask us as much questions as you want to. Are you serious, dude? Have you never used this before?
No.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, it's just... Oh my god. Okay. We are technologically advanced people here. Taskbar settings. Lock the taskbar, turn that off.
I already had that off.
Oh, no, it's the wrong one then. Taskbar settings. Automatically hide the taskbar in desktop mode, turn that on.
There we go.
Alright, put your taskbar away from that, you mother... Okay, there we go.
I'm over here.
I'm delayed, dude. Okay, never mind. And then finally, general NHL topics. Anyway, starting off, the Oilers are a very, very, very strong record in the past couple games. But perhaps... first off, I guess we'll mix and match the order a little bit here. What's causing it? Why are we winning as much as we're winning, Adam?
I mean, you can tell there's a few things, right? Koskinen's been quite good since the deadline. I think before the Leafs game, he had a 9.24. Draisaitl's been on fire, absolute. He's got 18 goals in the last 20 games. He got 17 points in his last 12 before the Leafs game, and he's got 2 points in that game. So I guess it's 19 and 13 now. McDavid. Cassian has decided to join the ranks as the surprise player of the year again.
He had a 4-game goal streak.
Yeah, and got another point last night, I think. Yep. And then Darnell Nurse has been producing pretty steadily. He's about 0.5 points per game right now, which a lot of people would find surprising, myself included. But yeah, I think it's a combination of factors. What do you make of it?
I don't know what it is. It's like something in the water starting from around the middle of February, where like suddenly we go from getting blown out in like 4 back-to-back games, like 4 losses in a row, where we lost the Sharks, the Penguins, the Hurricanes, and the Islanders, and they were not close games at all. Like we were absolutely decimated in each of those games, especially that Penguins game, where we looked out of it, and that was, I believe, the last time that we had cast. But since then, it was just a shootout, like 2 shootout losses to the Predators and to the Coyotes. We might regret that shootout loss to the Coyotes, considering how hot they are, but continuing on. It's just been close games and losses to the Leafs. That's been our entire, the MO so far. Like, the only regulation losses we've had in the last month, almost last month, was to the Leafs in both games, and one was a blowout, the other one was not. Was fairly close, all things considered. And for the Leafs, it's more like, I would say that the Leafs just play a style that heavily relies on a lot of depth and smothering top players, and that makes it very difficult for a guy like McDavid or Draisaitl or even Nuge Hopkins to be able to flourish. But that being said, if we look to our rest of our schedule, it looks fairly good in terms of outcome. I'm fairly confident about the next 2 games being wins, and I say that very tentatively because obviously they can easily turn into losses. But Rangers, Devils, both home games, followed by an away game against the Coyotes and the Golden Knights. Blues, Blue Jackets, Senators, Kings, and so on. But the key thing here is that there's a lot of division games that's left over. And that's going to be the backbreaker in all of this. Like, if we can't win those games that are against the Golden Knights, as well as the Stars and the Coyotes, and as well as the Avalanche, these are all teams that we have to leapfrog over. Obviously, Golden Knights are further up in the standings, but that being said, they haven't been playing spectacularly outside of the last handful of games. And it's a very real possibility that we can leapfrog them. But if we can't win it, there's no way around it. Like, we basically have to, in the next, like, 15-ish, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games that's left, we have to win, like, 10.
We have to win 10 and get lucky. Because we have to hope that teams like the Wild stop winning, or teams like Calgary start winning again, or teams like Colorado lose more. Like, if there's a few. In order for us to realistically have a chance for the playoffs, there has to be a good number of things that goes right. I think we're at 2.7% chance of making the playoffs right now.
Yeah, it's 3% was the last number that I had seen, but the Leafs game, that was before the Leafs game. We really needed to win that game. Unfortunately, we weren't able to. That being said, you're not going to have perfect games all the time here.
For all intents and purposes, we need to play well just to prove that we can play well, and playoffs would be a pipe dream at this point. So
they are an absolute pipe dream, but the good thing about it is essentially. Oh, never mind. The Golden Knights are on fire. I take that all back. The Golden Knights have won 6 games in a row. So never mind there. But the biggest, challenge or hurdle along the way, more than Colorado or Chicago, is strictly going to be Arizona. Because Arizona has gone 8-2 in their last 10. That's a record that's even better than the Oilers by a mere 2 points, but still better than the Oilers. Included in that streak, of course, is the one shootout win they have over us. So then when you put that all into a context here, it's not looking great in terms of possibilities to make the playoffs. But Adam, do you believe?
No, no, I don't. After 13 years of crap, like, this team, for me, has to show the city they give a shit and they can play well. And
no. Let's be honest about that, Adam. This team is playing like they give a shit right now.
Absolutely, which is why I was about to say I'm happy with the recent results. Not even the results, just the effort level is there. They're trying. You can tell that there's actual give a shit. The playoffs, unfortunately, that 12-game losing streak in the middle of January kind of sunk our season. And we had a feeling when that happened, we're like, that's going to be hard to come back from. And it has been. But the concerted effort in the last month has shown us that, okay, this team, at the very least, has top-end talent that can carry, and occasionally is now getting some depth that is occasionally contributing. Rarely, but occasionally.
And I guess the biggest factor, like the problem child in all of this, is that 6-2-2 record that we had, we were about 7 points outside of a playoff spot before that record began. We are now, doing a quick calculation here, still 7 points outside of a playoff spot.
Yeah. It's basically the same thing that happened in the East, where Boston has gone something like they've lost 2 games in the last 20, and
they haven't lost any games. They have a point streak going for 18 games now.
And they still haven't gained a point on the Lightning.
On the Lightning, yeah.
Like, that's
and Lightning also, congratulations to any Lightning fans, or second fans, I guess, if that's your second team. Lightning have clinched a playoff spot, and for any Colorado fans, congratulations. Ottawa Senators have been eliminated from playoff contention.
I was going to say, congrats to the Sens. They can now start throwing shit at Melnick.
Yeah, actually, I was in Ottawa this past weekend, and wow. I understand why you left.
It's better than Edmonton, I'm not going to tell you that. Oh, man.
It's not better than
Edmonton. It is.
Get out of here.
It is.
I like Edmonton. Mind you, it has a lot more to do with me knowing the city than Ottawa, but if I had to rank cities, it'd be like Vancouver's number 1, Edmonton's like in the top 5-ish, Ottawa is like just above Calgary.
What the fuck did Ottawa ever do to you? God
So
damn.
bad. I don't know at all.
No, it's
Basically, if you want to do anything in Ottawa, just go to Gatineau.
no.
Anyway,
Why? You want to get stabbed? Go to Gatineau, sure.
anyway,
It's
anyway.
basically it's basically the River Valley, but an entire province of it.
Oh, was Gatineau really bad?
Gatineau's not great. It has its issues. There was the clubs there have been shut down numerous times for having 14, 15, 16-year-old girls living in the door because they don't check IDs. There were a couple stabbings there. Uh, yeah, stuff like that. You know, casual, just French stuff.
That sounds very French to me. Yeah.
It's Gatineau.
Anyway, let me put a thumbs up emote to that, Adam. And to move on to our next little topic here in terms of what's going on? Like, why are we winning, and why are we having such a good streak as we are?
I think the power play's been quite hot lately. I think we're running at nearly 20% the last 12 games or so.
I do have to say, 20%, even if you say the last 12 games or so, is still only about 15th in the league.
Compared to where we were, it was 26th for most of the season. So what I'm saying is it's jumped about 10 places in NHL over the last 12 to 15 games. The penalty kill isn't as atrocious as it has been. I think we're up to about 22nd or so. We were 28th for a long time. Our penalty kill's been awful for a long time. Koskinen's been really good, like I mentioned. And yeah, I think having Sekera back, having Clefbaum back, not having Gravel and Petrovic and Manning in the lineup constantly has proven a lot of help. Matt Benning is off his fucking ass. I don't know what he's doing right now. He's playing like crap. He's by far and away our worst defenseman right now. But at least now we can stick him with Matt Benning, or not with Darnell Nurse or Andre Sekera, someone who can actually move the puck, who can kind of save his ass a little bit.
And honestly, throughout all of this, I'm genuinely impressed with the fact that Sekera has come back as positively as he has.
He's not the same player.
I'm also slightly disappointed with the fact that Clefbaum doesn't look the same as he was before his injury.
You know what? I think he was playing above what we should expect at the start of this year and in the playoffs in 2016. I think the Clefbaum that we see now is what we see. It's kind of like Darnell Nurse, where they're a decent player, and then when they hit a hot streak, they're insane. They're really, 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 really good. But they're inconsistent enough that we should expect them to be that average level most of the time. Actually, the biggest disappointment right now to me is Adam Larson. He's been really bad the last month and a half, 2 months. He's just been...
Really? I thought Adam Larson had been one of the most consistent.
No,
Adam Larson's not flashy at all, let's be honest.
But that's the issue, is that's why I've been noticing him more, is he's making bad passes, he's turning the puck over a lot, he's making bad decisions, he's missing hits, which is odd. There was one game, I think about a month ago, where he absolutely dominated, and I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? And then the last 5-6 games after that, I watched him, and he was just, normally he's pretty quiet, you don't really notice him, and that's great, because he does his job as the first pairing. He was bad. He was standing out, he's getting caught flat-footed, he was throwing hits that he shouldn't have no business throwing in terms of timing. He was making passes into feet and bobbling the puck on breakouts. Like it almost like he's like Space Jam for a little bit. And I'm wondering if part of that's getting readjusted playing with Clefbaum, because they haven't played together very much in the last year and a half. But it's a bit odd. And Adam Larson needs to come back. We need him to be a first pairing defenseman that may not be first pairing, but at least plays like it. Like doesn't show up on the first pairing most nights, which is good enough.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, because I look at perhaps it's just the fact that I haven't been able to catch as many games as you have been, Adam. But when I look at like the numbers, just general expected goals for, etc. for the past couple of games, I think he's been the most positive impact. Perhaps it's just a perception thing where like with PK Subban, where the numbers don't tell the whole story. You need to see him play to see the whole player. But that being said, there is a lot of positives that he's bringing forward. Like right now with Nurse's huge resurgence, and let's really emphasize the fact that Nurse playing really freaking well right now. It's really been a huge positive for the Oilers. I think the reason that Nurse is able to play the way that he is at the moment is because he's mostly paired with Adam Larson.
Well, yes, because he hasn't been for most of it. That's the thing, is that for most of it, he's been paired with Matt Benning. He was paired with Gravel for a little bit, and Chris
When
Russell.
Clefbaum went down to injury, let's be honest here, that was the trigger
Of us playing like crap. Yeah.
of Nurse emerging. Because
Yeah, I
then
mean, he had to
Nurse
step
was
up.
then paired with because was it Nurse basically went up in the depth chart and was started being
I
paired
thought he
with
played with
Larson.
Russell mostly.
No,
It was,
at first
no,
it was
'cause it
mostly
was
Larson.
Jones.
That's when he
It was
hit his
Jones.
really big point
It was
streak.
Jones.
And then he was paired. Now we've lately, like past like 10, 15 games, he's been paired with
It
Russell.
was Jones and Larson that were playing together for most of the time Clefbaum was down.
Caleb?
Caleb Jones and Adam Larson for most of the time.
I'll check. I'll
He
check.
played-
the,
they played- I want to say they played together for 3 or 4 games before Clefbaum came back, and then Nursman went back with Russell, and Clefbaum went back with Larson. There's been some swapping because Larson and Clefbaum didn't really click together for a little bit, so they swapped back. But I'm 80% sure Clefbaum, like Nurse didn't play that much with Russell. And I'm sure we saw it at some point because the lines have been juggled a fair bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been. Well, I mean, what do you make of Ken Hitchcock then?
Ken Hitchcock, I believe, is going to deliver on the Dallas special, where he brings a team that has a lot of flaws to within a couple points outside of a playoff spot.
If this was a better built team, I think Hitchcock got him there. This team just isn't built.
No, I don't agree.
No? You don't think so? If this team was built a little bit better?
Yeah, it's simply from the fact that if hold on, I'll look at box scores before I make acclamations this time around. But like if you look at the past couple of games, even the ones where we've lost, we've just been outshot. That's the biggest indicator for me. Even the Canucks game where we should not have been outshot, we were outshot.
Yeah. I mean, so I will say
that's the biggest problem child for me is that. Like if Koskinen has those bad games like he had against the Leafs the first one, there's nothing you can do because even that game where he had that bad game, that was we tied shots with the Leafs in that game, right? It was 36-36, and even then none of the Oilers' chances looked dangerous. Well,
speaking of
all
goalies,
of them,
Stolarz played pretty well yesterday.
ridiculous. I don't know with that sentiment either. I agree with the comment about it. I felt as though he wasn't handling his rebounds well.
He couldn't handle anything that hit him bounced in front of him. And that's what I was about to say. He played well when the puck hit him, and then after the puck hit him, he was like the puck would hit him and just drop there, and you're like, thinking that one. I counted maybe 7 of the first 12 shots he faced he should have held, and he gave up rebounds, which is
and to add to that, that Blue Jackets game where we played, that was probably the most dominant game that the Oilers have played this season, and we still got outshot.
What were the
I get it.
What were the high dangers? Because I mean, maybe
getting outshot isn't the best indicator for whether or not we're a good team and whether we're a bad team or whatever. But
you do.
It's too consistent. I'm talking about the past past 10 games. Getting outshot, and the opposing team getting 35 shots or more is the most common thing to happen.
You do tend to give up more shots when you're in a lead because the other team's pressing more on attack, right? That tends to happen. However, it happens too often when the Oilers are down for it to be a thing that happens to us. It happens too consistently when we're down. That we're getting that badly outshot for you to justify it in the sense that, oh, well, we're ahead, so we're not going to take more shots. Yes, that's often true, but most of the time when we're up, when we're down, we're still not taking more shots than the team. We're still getting outshot.
So I'm actually manually tracking here the past 10 games, and I'm counting one where we got they took less than 25 shots against us.
It's been a chronic issue at the start of the year. I mean, since the start of the year, but first,
and that was the Islanders game where the Islanders genuinely had a very bad game. That was more on the Islanders than it was on the Oilers. Yeah. And I'm talking in that game. That's the only game where we've allowed less than 30 shots. in the past 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, but we've won 8 of the last 10.
No, we've won 6 of the last 10.
Yeah. Well, 500.
If we won 8 of the last 10, we'd have made some ground on the wild card position.
So remember, we were 8-1-1. But yeah.
We have an identical record to what Minnesota has. That's why we have made no ground.
Are we not 8-1-1 over the last 10?
We're at 6-2-2. 2 losses in regulation to the Leafs, and a shootout loss to the Coyotes, and a shootout loss to the Preds.
Right.
The rest have been wins. And before that, and that's the biggest problem child in all of this, was a 4-game losing streak, another a win, and as well as another 4 or 5-game losing streak.
I thought we lost like 7 straight.
9. Yeah, 6-game losing streak.
Yeah. That was just after the All-Star break. That was just before and then just after the All-Star break.
Exactly.
I remember we lost.
Anyway, like I guess coming back to it, if I were to personally pick out like the biggest reason for why we're winning, I think it's just luck. We during those losing streaks, we had a lot of puck luck go against us, like not just like puck bounces, but also calls and things like that are just not going in our favor. And much as the pendulum like swings one way, it can swing back, and that's what we're seeing right now with the swing back, where like we don't have to worry about getting like the highest shot totals in every game because our players are high enough quality to put in those high quality chances. But therein lies the problem is if a guy like Draisaitl or Nuge Hopkins or even McDavid goes cold for a handful of games, it's over. I mean, that's what we've basically drawn ourselves into.
That's just a depth issue, though.
So right now, I think the responsibility for the winning right now is just that Koskinen is playing ridiculously good, and pretty much every high danger chance for us is going in. It's not going in. It's going in.
I don't know if that's. I mean, a lot of that's luck, but I mean, in terms of you saying cold streak, that's just depth issues. Because the things with good teams that if their players hit cold streaks, the depth players.
That's the purpose of depth players. Is that they're there filling the gaps so when your good players are just cold.
I wouldn't say so much luck for me personally. I mean, we are having a bit more, or certainly more luck than we had earlier in the year.
What I mean by luck here is I'm not talking about luck in terms of our team luck. I'm talking more about when I'm referring to our team, I'm not talking about any line beyond the first line. Let's be honest.
So so basically our top end, we're being dragged along by top end talent. Is
exactly
basically it. So I mean, we are getting.
And on the topic, I guess, of top end talent, Draisaitl is firing on all cylinders. What's going on with him? Like, is McDavid holding him back? Was that the problem? Because he really started popping off once McDavid got injured or suspended, rather.
McDavid's a product of Draisaitl. Everyone knew this all along. Like, come on, idiots.
Let's be honest here. That's not the case. We don't believe that.
Come on.
But
conspiracy theories.
Definitely an argument with the past couple games has been made that Draisaitl is worth the dollar amount that he's getting,
if not more at this point. Right now, for how he's playing right now. Right now,
it's also an RFA. That's where I get the complaint from.
Normal. Yeah, I get the argument that was made at the time. It was too much. In 10 years or whatever they're saying,
it's not okay. Yeah, let's. I want to clarify here very, very, very succinctly. The dollar value that he was signed at, if a UFA like Draisaitl was signed at that value, every single person on the planet would go, that's a great contract.
It's because it was an RFA deal.
The problem with that contract was that he was an RFA, and yes, he was open to, what's that shit called again? Offer sheets, yeah. But no one offer sheets, and it was non-existent problem, and it's that man who's been fired since got himself into a pickle, and he basically signed a contract that was just stupid.
Yep. I mean, no one's going to argue that at the time it was a good signing because it was an overpay at the time. It was. And, I mean, the big thing is that Draisaitl, in order to be valued as contract, has to be a good production player in the next few years. With that said, he's second in goal scoring in the NHL right now.
Yeah, that's true.
For $8.5 million, he's on his pace. If he's I don't think he's on pace to catch Ovi, but he's bearing right down.
He's not going to catch him. Ovi's already crossed 50.
No, but Draisaitl has the chance at 50-50, which is insane. Like if I told you 2 years ago Draisaitl was going to score 50 goals in a year,
oh no, correction. Ovechkin hasn't hit 50 yet, but he's at 46, okay. And the next highest person is Draisaitl at 41. He's 5 goals behind.
So,
and to give you further context, if you go 5 goals below that, like below Draisaitl, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people.
Yeah. So, in terms of our team, if you had said 2 years ago, name a 50 goal scorer on a team, I would not have said Draisaitl. I would have said McDavid could maybe score 50 if he shot more. I never would have said Draisaitl. So the fact that Draisaitl, it's become almost our Crosby Malkin in the sense that higher end talent, better overall player around, better goal scorer. I would say Draisaitl is better defensively because Malkin is terrible defensively. But the thing is, Malkin has the track record to back it up right now, and he's a generational talent in the sense that Malkin's amazing. Draisaitl right now is the best German to ever play the game. Not a super high bar.
Not a super high bar, let's be honest.
Still, is already there, and if he continues playing as he is, those will be the comparisons for the next forever.
Mm-hmm. I guess moving on then. To another player who's having a phenomenal time this season, in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Mm-hmm. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is at a very respectable 58 points this season, which puts him very clearly as the highest point total that he's ever gotten to in his career. That's the new career record that he has. Mind you, Draisaitl as well is at a new career record. The only person that's not at a new career record is McDavid, and perhaps that's we can't chat about. But specifically with Nugent-Hopkins, that's 58 points that he has, 22 goals, and 36 assists. In all categories, he's third on the team, except plus minus, but that doesn't matter for shit. Who cares? And throughout all of it, I guess the big question mark is, was this the first overall that we'd always expected, or is this just something that we're seeing more of because every single player is scoring?
It's kind of an interesting way to look at it, right? Because you go, oh, Nuge is playing much better than he has. And he has played, you can see it in his game, he's playing better than he has in the past. But scoring is up league-wide. And if you look at where he is this year in terms of scoring, it's not too far off what he has been in the past. It's just everyone looks at numbers and goes, yeah, he's better. It's like, yeah, he is better. He's our best defensive forward. No contest. Zero contest. But he's brought this element to the game where now he's being seen more as a third forward on the team. He's now is non-negotiable tradable. Which, for a few years in the past, they were going, should we trade Nugent-Hopkins or should Eberle trade Nugent-Hopkins or Hall or all Eberle, Hall or Nuge? Like, it was always like if Hall was untouchable, and obviously it's McDavid and Draisaitl now, and I think Nuge just kind of climbed up there as he's a very, very valuable player of the team. He's shown he can play winger, he's shown he can play centerman, be effective penalty kill, power play, whatever you want to do with him. He's your man. But to say he's out producing, I mean, he will hit a new career high, and it's hard for me to say that he's not playing better than he is. But in terms of league overall scoring, he's not climbed up the ranks massively compared to how a lot of people seem to think.
I mean, the best comparable that I'll give you here is that Gabriel Landeskog, who was drafted second in that draft year, he also set a new career record for the most points in a season. But his previous record was 65 in his sophomore or second year, I guess, in the league, and or third year in the league. Sorry, and he's right now at 69. Nice points in 68 games.
He's gonna miss. So, he's missing 3 to 4 weeks though.
Who Landeskog?
Landeskog got injured the other day. Yeah.
So the bigger thing is, I guess, throughout all of this is like, let's be honest here, Landeskog definitely benefits from the fact that he does not play as the key feature within his line. He is a winger to one of the best offensive forwards in the league. Uh, no denying the fact that we have two of the best as well on our team. But very often, Nugent Hopkins only got half the season to play with one of them, or barely even half the season to play with one of them before coaches got fired and lines got shuffled.
Well, the other thing you got to look at is that when Draisaitl and McDavid are playing on a line, who is Nuge being stuck with? Because normally it's Chiasson playing with them or Cassian. So
right now it's Chiasson, right?
Right now it's Chiasson and Nuge and Ratty
insert
or
player
Curry or Cave or Kara at one point.
It'll probably be Kara again because he's been activated. But
So it's quality wingers. I think that's for me is the big reason I'll honestly say Nuge is playing better this year is the quality of wingers he's playing with is bad, but he's been good. He's obviously producing more when he plays with McDavid, but it's Connor McDavid. If you don't produce more with Connor McDavid, there's something wrong with you. Yakupov produced more with Connor McDavid, and he's not even in the NHL anymore.
Yeah, no, let's be honest here about Yakupov. I'm going to 100% point that out as a development failure more than a player failure here.
Yep. I think we developed him wrong, but...
In the same way that I would also point out with Puljujarvi, perhaps tending towards more being a development failure than a player failure.
Yeah.
And I know this wasn't one of our conversation topics, but I'm just going to move along the discussion here. Puljujarvi is out for the rest of the season. It's a double hip replacement, essentially, that he's getting. No?
Not a replacement. It's not a replacement. It's
double hip surgery.
It's arthroscopic surgery to repair cartilage damage in the hips that's apparently fairly common in hockey players. And he's developed at a young age. So basically, he himself in an interview said he has old people hips, which I found adorable. But it's like Jamie Benn had the surgery, Tyler Seguin's had the surgery. There's a good number of good hockey players that get it done. So it's not an uncommon surgery. It's uncommon to get it that young.
But let's get into it a little bit here in terms of was this the problem for him? Because there was comment from him essentially that he was playing around 50% for a large stretch before he went down and they were investigating what exactly was going on.
It's hard to say, right? Like,
yeah.
If you look at him on the ice, he wasn't in position a lot of times. And that's not, I don't know if there's that maybe that he wasn't mobile enough to get there. Is it that he wasn't able to focus as well because he was in pain? He was only playing, when he was playing 7 to 10 minutes a night, we're like, why the hell is he playing 7 to 10 minutes a night? Maybe that's because he was telling coaches he was in a lot of pain and they weren't playing him. So that could be
I don't think he can. He's not the player to do that, honestly.
Well,
most hockey players are.
If you can't skate, that could be, we don't know any of it. But that's what I'm saying, right? We don't really know the extent to how much it affected his game. He says at 50%. Rich Peverley came off had a heart attack, or his heart stopped, and then went back on the ice, or tried to go back on the ice. Like, hockey players are a weird breed. So 50% could be most people's 10% for Puljujarvi. We don't know. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't want to count this year off as a scratch because we can look at Puljujarvi and go, okay, maybe we don't have the player we thought we did here. But at the same time, you have to look at it goes, maybe we don't have the player we thought we did, but he's better than we expected because he dealt with his injury for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So do you see him potentially next season being better than he was this year?
Can't be much worse than he was this year. At the end of the day, let's look at that. You can say it's a lost year, but Puljujarvi didn't play all that well up until he went out. He started, the thing is, you look at preseason, he played so fucking well in preseason. You're just like, holy shit balls, like this kid coming out of the wazoo's just blowing everyone out of the water. And then and he kind of cooled off as the season went. And if it's possible that if his hip injury started giving him trouble when he started slowing down, it could be correlation isn't, or causation isn't correlation, right? Correlation doesn't mean causation. So we can't look at it, because a lot of players have good preseasons. Ty Ratty was unreal in preseason. But, he got injured, he fell off, and then hasn't been a player since. So we can look at it as Puljujarvi had a bad season, or we can look at it as Puljujarvi had a good preseason, had a good start of the season, got injured, and then, or his hip injuries got worse, and then he played worse. But to be honest, it's probably a combination of both. He probably started playing worse, and his hips made his play worse than it could have been. But he was never going to have, like, just this play at the start of the season wasn't good enough for a 40-point season, for example. Just wasn't.
No, that's 100% fair, and I agree with you on that. And I guess moving, because I'm just going to move the discussion along just a little bit here. So McDavid got suspended 2 games for a hit that was very clearly an illegal hit. Let's be honest here. It was to the head. That was the principal point of contact. It was also a blindside hit, where he wasn't aware of the hit coming in, and perhaps that's why he just did a little twirl and fell down. Oh, there's an extremely loud hiss coming through the audio. Adam, do you know what's going on?
No,
Is that on your end?
Well, I'm guessing because I'm recording. I have no idea what that would be.
We're going to take a look at that, Andre. Just give us a quick second here.
I'm going to mute it. Let me know if it changes.
Alright. Anyway, coming back to it here. The McDavid was suspended 2 games, and for people that didn't catch it, it was basically a hit on Nick Leddy. That was blindside, it was to the head, and audio isn't the greatest. Yeah, it's a general agreement here that audio is not the best. It's 2 different commenters that are saying it.
Alright, I have no idea what's going on with it then, because this is the same setup.
Is it the mics by chance? Could you type for us if it's
here.
the mics that's the problem, or something else?
I'm going to try one thing here.
Fortunately, I don't have timestamps, so I can't see when you guys are typing, what you're typing. But,
let's try this. Alright, see if that fixed anything. Yep.
Your audio... Oh, that sounds better, actually. But I'm not getting any video from you now.
Yeah,
that's not...
Yeah, I had to unplug my... I basically just... So I have a multi-port going to my laptop. And I have a feeling that might be what's causing the issue.
Okay.
If the audio was better...
there we go. Full Party says it sounds much better.
All right, that'd be why then. That's good to know.
Right.
Appreciate the heads up.
Thank you for letting us know, and we very much apologize for the audio quality that you guys were getting.
Right.
Fortunately, electrical noise is the way it is, and very often we don't hear it on user sending out end. You can only get feedback based upon how user end is coming in. And very obviously, you can tell that I have recently started a co-op position that has a lot more to do with business, and I'm throwing out words I very much don't understand.
That's normal for you, bud. Come on, let's not give any excuses here. Come on.
Pretty sure his name is Chiarelli. Anyway,
the amount you names get wrong, you're not allowed to talk about anything like that. God, this fucking guy, I don't know how long you guys been watching for. This fucking guy is the worst with names. Just the fucking worst.
Koskinen, McDavid the Goon. What are your thoughts, as well as Chad's thoughts, I guess, in terms of what's going on with that suspension and like the whole context behind it, the fact that he got the punishment that he did, but similar hits since, and I say similar vaguely because they haven't been both hits to the head and blindside. Let's be honest here, haven't been hit with that same example punishment that McDavid got. Would he have gotten the same punishment if he was playing for a team that was top 5 in the standings, do you think, Adam? Also, Adam, you're still not showing up.
No, I know. So what's happened now is it's because I no longer have a mouse, it's changed the it automatically changed the input setting to a microphone, or so I can't change it back. Basically, if you give me 30 seconds here, I'm gonna change my audio back.
All right. I will talk about.
Well, you won't be able to talk
for the next 30-ish seconds. Okay, guys. So I want to know very quickly here.
Or just
cheese scopes.
Listen to me. That's okay.
Right? That sounds like it should be disgusting, but it's like I don't know. Is it disgusting? Like, because how do you get the cheese in the scone and make it crumbly? Like, it sounds like it shouldn't work. Like, it's like you get like your shitty ass cheddar brick in, and how do you make it taste good? I don't get it. Anyway, pool party. Pretty close to the Eichel hit that happened the other night. I'm interested to see if the league is consistent. I actually didn't catch that hit here. If you have a link to it, do send it my way. I'll try to find it.
Okay.
In the meantime,
I cannot change it. It won't let me change it for some stupid reason. So I'm just gonna be a chair for the rest of the podcast.
Hi, everyone. This is. I have news for everyone that was interested in terms of will Jack Eichel get similar treatment. Jack Eichel got exactly the same treatment. He has been suspended 2 games for an illegal kick to the head on Colorado's Carl Soderberg.
So did Jakub Voracek.
And Jakub Voracek also got a 2-game suspension.
Yeah, the Voracek one is confusing to me because it seemed more like. Can't remember, the player ran into his back, and then Voracek certainly extended into him and hit him in the head, but it seemed more like it was a collision. Seemed more like it was an interference penalty than anything else. I don't really understand why he got 2 games for it. The Eichel one, I could kind of see it's a bit closer to McDavid's. I'm not going to argue the McDavid hit was good. It wasn't. It was a bad hit. It was blindside. It was to the head. But it was his first offense. And if the league is going to set a precedent in the fact that you can chop at someone's face, barely miss them, and get 1 game for it with a prior history, it seems a little bit bullshit that you get 2 games for your first offense on a bad hit. I was saying maybe 1 hit at a fine would have been plenty. 2 games seems overkill to me. But now they've done the same thing to where these 2 hits, which weren't as bad, to be honest. The Eichel hit wasn't very good, but it wasn't, I would say, maybe the same level as McDavid's. Voracek's wasn't. It just wasn't as bad as the other 2. He still got 2 games. So
I guess the big conversation in all of this, Adam, is the fact that the big hit question mark is the fact that Corey Perry essentially swung a stick at Mr. Lovely Darnell Nurse at the very.
He cross-checked him in the face.
Yeah, he did.
No, sorry. He forearm shivered him to the face at the end of the game.
Yes. It was, in essence, in terms of hockey suspensions, this is right along the alley, and this was not even a conversation or discussion or anything. And George Peros, being the new head of hockey of player safety. At first, I was sort of like, that's positive, that's good, but on the second hand, I'm going like, how does Perry and Marchand get away in this entire season without getting suspended when guys like Eichel, Voracek, Malkin, McDavid are all getting hit with 2-game suspensions?
For me, it's not the player, but like I don't like the worst thing you can do is suspend a star player differently than you would a regular player. It just sets a bad precedent.
I would not agree. I would say the first thing you can do is not suspend a player that causes a major injury.
No,
because yes, it matters to us. It matters to you as integrity of hockey fans in terms of, does the star player get the same treatment that a lower level, like, goonish player would get in terms of the systemic process of suspensions. But in terms of hockey sales and money and the business side of hockey, suspending a star player is one of the worst things that can happen.
Absolutely, which is but that's the concerning thing, is that it shouldn't be any different. But the problem we've run into now is that everything is so inconsistent. You genuinely don't know who's going to be suspended for what, or if they will be. It's literally the ad spin the wheel.
Spin of the wheel.
You don't fucking know. You just don't. I thought McDavid was like, okay, 1 game max, fine. 2 games was nuts. Corey Perry, hearing, no hearing. There was another hit the other day. I can't even remember who it was, but they didn't even get a hearing either. It was a brutally bad hit. Ian Cole went knee on knee and didn't even get a fucking hearing. The week before, he hit someone in the head, didn't get a hearing. But then Voracek, Eichel, and McDavid all get 2 games within 3 weeks of each other. How the fuck does that work?
So a couple things that have happened. This is the crazy thing, and I feel bad for Flyers fans when I go over this. But here's the number of offenses that have been committed against Flyers players that have gone completely uncharged, in essence. Malkin did a home run swing at another player on the Flyers team. Nothing happened to him. Anthony Mantha, after getting hit by Claude Giroux, turned around and cross-checked Giroux in his neck. No call, nothing happened to him. Gabriel Landeskog did a straight-on full charge from the blue line into a Flyers player. No call, no suspension, nothing happened. It just goes without it. And that's just against the Flyers.
Yeah, that to me, actually, I'll be perfectly honest, that is one of the things I think the NHL needs to work the most on this offseason. Is, again, they've been trying to do it for a few years, but consistency, as like they always try to establish what it is, but consistency in suspensions. And I realize that hockey's a fast game. I realize every incident is different. I realize that suspension history is going to play a role into it, and they do take injury into effect.
But these are all players except for Malkin. Yeah. That all have a history. All don't have a history of doing.
That's the thing, right? Like, you look at all these players that have histories that are getting away with this. Ian Cole hasn't been. He got suspended 7 games. I think it was in 2013 for a hit to the head. I remember because I looked this up when it happened. But then he literally knee on knee, fucking go knee on knee with another player, and nothing happens. And it's like, so how it's you don't know. And to me, that's the biggest issue, is that you don't know whether a hit is going to be looked at or not. And if it does get looked at, who the hell knows what the suspension is going to be, because your best is as good as mine. Like, it's like fucking dartboard. It's getting to the point where it's ridiculous. We're better than the NFL, at least. At the very least, we can say we're better than the NFL.
This is borderline right now, because the big backbreaker for me was the fact that I 100% understood the suspension that he got. But the key thing here that I don't understand is the level of suspension that he got. Like, I can 100% understand a 1-game suspension. Like, in my honest opinion, for a first-time offender, a 1-game suspension makes perfect contextual sense. Mm-hmm. But
you know the great thing is now,
this is an example suspension
for the next year and a half. I think it is. I can't remember the exact amount of games. I think it's 80 games. If he does something, like if he has another borderline hit within that amount of time, there's a chance he'll get suspended for 3 to 4 to 5 games, because he'll be a repeat offender.
Honestly, I feel horrible in saying this, but I'm saying this not from the perspective of a hockey fan, but from the perspective of an Oilers fan. I hope McDavid starts flopping a bit.
No, I really don't.
I want him to sell Connor.
No, he won't. He won't, because
he won't.
He'll be
never in a million.
Connor never would, but I really don't.
That's Connor.
But it's in the sense, I get what you're saying, and I know you can't see my hand moving.
Is that like,
I get what you're
Johnny
saying?
Boychuk? Let's be honest here. Not Johnny Boychuk. If Nick Leddy doesn't do a full-on 360 twirl, are we talking 2 games or 0?
I don't think he dove, but I think because of the angle, that one is a bit like, McDavid goes fast enough that, like, whatever. But for me, the big issue is the amount of bullshit he takes that goes A, uncalled, and B, doesn't even get looked at, is insane. And so I understand what you're saying, but I would never want him to do it, because it's also going to cheapen when something serious happens. If he flops, then they're going to lessen.
It's like the boy who cried wolf.
Exactly.
I understand.
That's essentially what I'm saying, and that's my concern with that. It's
and honestly, like, my biggest problem right now is that after everything that happened with McDavid on the front of like the suspension call and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm just in a headspace of I genuinely don't understand where department, because like I am of the other extreme opinion. I'm of the opinion that everything should be called. I'm of the opinion that like suspension should be severe. I'm of the opinion that, like a player at every moment of time is responsible for his body and his actions and his stick. So I am of the opinion that like shit like this should be punished and should be punished well. But this is
there are times when stuff
this
changes.
is
Hockey's a
stupid.
fast game, right? Like there is stuff. I'm never going to say that a player is not responsible for a hit they throw, but there are times where, for example, I've gone in to throw a hit. Buddy's decided to turn around quite literally a half second before I hit him, and I hit him into the boards. Now, to be fair, he was a foot away from the boards. I hit him in, but it wasn't a hit from behind for to say, but I boarded him, and that was because he turned around. Now, that's not to say that I wasn't culpable, because I could have slowed down, I could have played a pin, I could have played the puck differently. I chose to throw a hit in a potentially dangerous position, so I'm culpable in that sense. But it's partially his fault in that sense. Now, should I have been? I didn't get suspended for it. I think I got a 2-minute penalty, but
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, I get what you're saying, and I completely agree that headshots have to be suspended. Have to be suspendable more. There's too many conditions involving brain injuries now that are coming out.
I think it just comes down to the fact, Adam, and all of this, and I think this is where we agree, is that on a not even on a year-to-year basis, on a month-to-month fucking basis, we can't even get a grasp on what qualifies as what. Because we were always under the assumption that a first-time offense you consider as a first-time offense, and the past all 2-game suspensions that have happened is all on the basis of like first-time offense doesn't matter. This was serious.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that Eichel and Voracek's, like what defines a suspension seems to be changing every month.
It's infuriating.
Like
okay.
at one point, injuries were an impact, and then they weren't, and then they clearly said that they were, but everyone thinks they aren't. So if there's an injury on the play, it is more likely to be a suspension. It's more likely to be a longer suspension. If there's no injury, it'll be less severe. That's literally what the NHL has said.
Mm-hmm. And by coming out and saying that, they made things worse, honestly.
Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
I don't either.
I don't agree with that at all. Because I'm of the opinion that, because of concussions the way they are, they're not because you're not just talking about concussions, you're also talking about the syndromes that are associated with that comes from consistent damage that happens to.
How do you define how severe an injury is anyway? How do you define how severe a concussion is? You can't.
Exactly.
They're different grades.
If we're talking about like an injury that prevents you from being able to play in the immediate future, yeah, that's an injury. But there's also the kinds of injuries that cause like concussion, syndromes and things like that prevent you from being able to operate after the age of 40.
I mean, Pete, the thing is, like, besides long term, which you can't really gauge for suspensions, for me, gauging, like, so you can grade a concussion, but after 10 days it becomes PCS, in which case it can go for years. So let me look at Corey Crawford. If I bump Corey Crawford in the head and he's out for 6 months, do I deserve a 6-game suspension because he's now injured? No, I don't. It's also, severely unfortunate that Corey Crawford's had 8 concussions, but the severity of the injury.
I'm gonna feel bad for that man once he retires.
The amount of players that shouldn't be playing with how many. Different topic. Anyway, move on. Let's move on.
All right. I guess we'll finish off then, because I don't really see much in terms of NHL topics to talk about, because everything's been beaten to death at this point.
I just realized I don't know how I'm going to end this.
He's just doing better than the West. Boston is hot, but the Lightning is hotter. Calgary is all over the place. Don't know how they're going to be when the playoffs roll around. Pool Party, 8 concussions as a goalie. It's absolutely nuts, and I really question how his mental, his physical, and every kind of health is going to be once
you gotta wonder, like, when those guys take the slap shots to the head, those helmets. Have you worn a goalie helmet, Arun?
No, I have not.
They don't have a lot of padding.
Actually, no, I have. I have. No, lacrosse helmet, not goalie helmet.
It's
right.
basically foam on the inside. Foam, and like there's a fair amount of technology in new ones, but it's
The technology that's associated with it is designed to basically spread the shock and evenly throughout.
They're not thick helmets for how much impact you're taking on a slap shot. They're not. Like if you
and people are different.
Yeah,
that's also a fact.
I mean, there needs to be like, and there's the scary thing was there was a study done not long ago about how hockey helmets are really not as safe as they think they are. They're good for what they are. They're not as good as they could.
But they're not replaced. One of the biggest problems with hockey equipment in general is that they don't have as long of a lifespan as people think they have.
And that's a big thing with skiing too, right? When I went into the industry, they told us that, and you know, they're obviously going to tell you a little bit differently, so you sell the stuff differently. But in terms of helmets, your helmets are typically good for 3 to 5 years if you don't crash on them hard. If you have a big hit, if you crash hard, you need to replace your helmet. It's just the padding goes, especially in ski helmets, ski and snowboard helmets in particular, because of the way they're designed. Disperse impacts, they're done. Hockey helmets, if they're dented, replace it. That's how it should go. 3 to 5 years is max, because after that point the helmet is no longer, the padding is basically turns into almost like sponge toffee. It's, you know, there's microscopic holes in it. It won't do its job properly. I had the same helmet for 12 years, and that's terrifying in retrospect. So I don't know. Trying to think of anything else that's happened recently. Actually, you know what? Let's do this real quick. Who's your Hart candidate right now?
I think it's really like clear, obvious, and this thing. I would put my Hart winner. Sorry, to give me a quick second, because I want to make sure that I'm gonna say something that's not stupid. If the Blackhawks or the Oilers make the playoffs, I would have either Kane or McDavid. But right now, it's Kucherov.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. So Rocket Richard is Ovi, you think?
It's Ovi at this point. It's just Ovi, because the only person that I think that can stay hot enough to keep up is possibly John Tavares, because I don't even think Draisaitl will stay hot. I think it's going to be McDavid assisted by Draisaitl for the next couple of games, because Draisaitl is very much a 50-50 split kind of player.
He's also, but for me, he's been the last few games. He has been stonewalled so fucking hard. There was about 3 goals yesterday he could have had, and Freddie Anderson just absolutely robbed him on.
Yeah, and actually on that point, Vezina, who wins it?
Oh God.
That's the hardest one.
Vasilevsky's been unreal. Price won't win, but he'll be top 5. John Gibson, unfortunately, has not been. I mean, he's been injured forever, but he's
been injured forever. He's lost too much. He's just lost too much.
His team is just not helping him.
I mean, he's no longer top 10 in save percentage. Yeah. He's no longer top 10 in wins.
That team was so bad for so long, they just tanked him. Poor fucking John Gibson.
Freddie I'm gonna stay here, because I'm gonna jump in and save mine first, and then I'll let you jump in and then finish that off. I have, understandably, I know this is a contentious one, but this is not from my perspective. This is from perspective of how people like to associate faces of teams as the reason the team is winning. And right now, one of those guys is Fleury. Fleury is the face of the Golden Knights. He's not the main reason the Golden Knights are winning, but that being said, he does lead the league in shutouts and wins. He doesn't have the save percentage for it. He doesn't have the goals against average for it. But he will be one of the finalists for the Vezina, in my opinion. Being said, I think it's Vasilevsky's or Anderson. Pretty much split 50-50 to lose, with dark horse being Binnington.
How many games has he played, though?
That's the backbreaker. Binnington has barely started.
Because that's the thing for Vezina, is they tend to go with players that played most of the season.
He's a respectable number of starts. He started 22 games.
I think it's like 40 starts. Yeah.
He has 5 shutouts in 22 games.
He's
1.8 goals against average and a 9.29 save percentage.
He's a big reason why the Blues are in the playoff contest right now.
Yeah, pool party Stellaris for Vesna, buddy. You should have seen the rebounds that he put out there. I don't think
I thought he
he's
was
in
a
the
shooter yesterday. No, he's to give him credit. He was good. He was in position. It's just he needs to work on his rebound control a
he
lot.
needs to work on his rebound control. Yeah,
To be fair, if he works on that, we might have a backup. But it was one game.
it was one game. Yeah,
One game against a very good team.
yeah.
But one game. Yeah, I think Vasilevsky has it pretty well. It's stupid because that team is so fucking good that it's a weird complex because you want to say yeah they're so good because their players, star players, are playing out of their mind, but at the same time you look at it and go, okay, but the team is also so good. What are other players around the league might be playing? That's why Johnny Gaudreau is getting so many heart votes. Is that his team is good, but he is standing out on that team. Kucherov is the thing with Kucherov for me. He's like 20 points higher than the next player right now.
Yeah, it's not. He's over 18 points higher. I can double check exactly, but I believe it is. Kucherov's at 110 points. Next highest is Kane at 97.
He's already at 100 and he's at 110. So he's broken the franchise record for most points in a season, and we still have how many games to go? Like I think we're over 20 games, I think, something like that. So that's
exactly
just, for me. I think actually, I think he's hard for me all the way. He's just been too goddamn good this season. I thought he would slow down after Christmas. No, he's just been unfucking real. He's been so good this season. It's unbelievable. And now, I mean, Selke, actually, apparently Crosby is apparently up in the running for Selke this year.
I don't agree with that.
I don't watch enough Penguins hockey to really judge.
I don't watch enough Penguins hockey as well.
I'm just tired of people always just like it's Bergeron and who's the other one who always gets consideration. It's just Bergeron is always like the front runner regardless of whatever happens, and I hate it because I don't watch any Bruins hockey, so it's not like I can say he's bad, but I know he's
been amazing.
I know he's that good. That's the thing. It just annoys.
It's hard to make any statements about that just because he's been that good.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, Taze I guess is up there normally, but I guess apparently Crosby isn't that good this year. And then Norris, who do you have?
Norris is defender, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's basically Giordano's to lose, isn't it?
It realistically is, yeah. It's Gio.
But, and this is the big but in all of this, Brent Burns just set the record, is like putting up ridiculous records for points and assists by defender in a season.
Yeah, it's Gio and Burns are the two front runners. I think Gio wins it because he's like 34 or something. He's having one of the best he's 35, so he's having one of the best 35 plus player seasons since Nick Lindstrom. That doesn't really that doesn't really get thrown around lightly. So I think he wins it just because he is just playing out of his mind, and he's that old.
Mm-hmm.
Rookie of the year.
See, I'm of the weird opinion that I genuinely believe if you look at the entire season, I think that Dahlin has been the best defender this season.
He's been among the best 18-year-old defenders.
The best, one of the best rookies this season. Sorry,
yeah.
Should have.
No, he's been among the best 18-year-old defenseman rookies in league history, and I think he's been more consistent overall. Elias Pettersson has been unreal. He has been really, really good, but he's fallen off a lot since he came back from injury. And it's unfortunate, to be honest, because as much as I hate the Canucks, I wanted to see what he could do, and so I wanted him to stay healthy, but those injuries slowed him down. So I don't think he gets it. I think he comes second. I think it's Dahlin.
I still think he wins it. It's just
Pettersson?
Players are too hot on him right now. I mean, but like it's all media because you have to consider who's voting in this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most positive media like outlets in terms of players that are on certain teams is players that are on the Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that jump on board and go like, Canucks are fantastic kind of thing, and without considering, the fact that I can't for the life of me find rookie scoring. Jesus Christ, why is this garbage?
They're under a different on the NHL site?
Yeah, NHL site.
They're under a different tab. There's like regular players and rookies. It's the dumbest shit. Um, the Lindsay is going to be interesting this year, I think. Because the last 2 seasons, McDavid's won the Lindsay. Despite the fact he didn't win Hart last year, he won the Lindsay.
It'll be Kucherov.
It will be Kucherov.
It will be Kucherov.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that even if McDavid makes up the point difference, let's say he makes up the point difference, right? Even then, Kucherov still has the same number of games to keep building on that point difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically as soon as McDavid was out those 2 games, it was done. I mean, it was going to be hard pressed for him to catch him anyway. But after those 2 games, it's done. So,
that's true.
Is there anything? I'm trying to think of anything else.
No, I guess just finishing off GM.
GM of the year? Oh.
No, not GM of the year, genius.
Coach.
The GM hunt.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. We missed that, didn't we?
Didn't talk about it.
Good Lord.
We did mention some of the finalists that were in play. But the key 4 or 5 names that have been mentioned is the current assistant GM for the Golden Knights. I forget his name all the fucking time. McCrimmon, yeah. Mark Hunter is another name that's been tossed around. Dave Nonis, that's another name that's been thrown around by only one person, and that's Dreger.
Yeah.
But Dreger is family to Nonis, so there is some plausibility in his statements. And who's the last ones?
Let me pull it up here. There's a Reddit thread. 1 second.
I'm not a huge fan of all of them, I'll be honest here. Keith Gretzky, but the general discussion, general consensus among people were that he's no longer in the conversation. Like, he's out, basically.
Yes and no. I mean, there was here.
It's contradicting. And generally, I think throughout all of this, I'm of the opinion that I think it's too much of a character hunt that's currently happening right now. Like, you need to look at people that are able to do the job well and not just the people that fit the character correctly. And I find it weird to say, because generally people that fit the culture of the team that you're looking for is the right character, is the person that's going to do the job best. But that being said, this isn't you're not just a GM for the Oilers. You're a GM in the NHL Hockey League. You have to be able to fit all aspects of GMing in the NHL Hockey League. There isn't a single person that's right for the Oilers versus not right for another team, because at the end of the day, it's the characteristics that make this person a good GM. That would also make them a good GM for another team.
That was the problem with Chiarelli, is they went after a man that was their guy in the sense that he wanted to play the style of game that Bob Nicholson likes. Heavy, hard, slow, lumbering.
Pool party. Just get us someone that can negotiate a contract, please.
Please, for the love of fuck.
Pool party, I didn't understand you, so I'm going to sign Stellaris for 4.45 for 3 years with a no trade clause. Thank you.
That's a bargain deal. He's cheaper than Koskinen.
This has been my TED Talk. Thank you.
So the 6th at Nielsen, so on March 6th, Nielsen put out an article called The Six Pack on Oilers Nation. He had Keith Gretzky, Kelly McCrimmon, Mark Hunter, Mike Fuda, Sean Burke.
Who's Fuda again? Sorry, clarification.
Fuda, I'll leave a little blurb here. Fuda's a new Paul Fenton. So Fuda, like McCrimmon and Hunter, put in his time in the CHL. He worked with Toronto, Oshawa, and Owen Sound before joining the Kings 11 years ago. He spent 5 years as the Kings director of amateur scouting, landing the likes of Drew Doughty, Slava Voinov, Braden Shen, Kyle Clifford, Jordan Nolan, Nick Dowd, Tyler Toffoli, Kevin Gravel, Tanner Pearson, and Colin Miller. Those are all draft picks he picked between the 1st and the 7th rounds. From 2014 to 17, Fuda was director of player personnel and VP of hockey ops for the Kings. When Rob Blake was named GM, Fuda was handed the dual role of assistant GM and GM of their AHL affiliate. And then Sean Burke...
I'd say, honestly, I'm one of the few people that consider the Kings to have one of the worst drafting in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that one. Sean Burke is...
I've heard that name many a times. I always confuse him with other people.
You mean... Well, it's his son. It's Porcupine's son. Yeah, so I mean, he's another Hockey Canada guy. So he's pro scout in the West for the Canadians for the past 3 seasons. Has been a huge part of Hockey Canada's management group. And Dave Nonis. I have no idea why he would be on Nicholas's list. He's basically been doing odd jobs and assignments for the Ducks for the past 4 seasons. His existence.
Oh, the ranking that's made as well is hilarious because there's like a very clear like Mark Hunter. He has his first, simply on an experience front here. McCrimmett or whatever the Kermit the Frog.
He has Fuda, McCrimmon, Gretzky, Burke, and then like 12 spaces, and then Nonis.
Nonis, yeah.
The thing.
Nonis should not be working.
Nonis should not be in the NHL. Nonis is even worse than Chiarelli somehow. And that's not a thing that should happen. But the concerning thing for me is we're going after guys that don't have NHL experience. So Hunter and Fuda don't really. Fuda has some NHL experience. Mark Hunter is an OHL scout, and he was. I mean, sorry,
he worked as an assistant GM. He was basically.
He ran the London Knights, which people had like was a dynasty, but.
Look, CHL dynasties are not dynasties.
I mean, to be honest, they've been a dominant team for the last like 20 years. So
they are bots.
In terms of, dynasties, it's not really a dynasty, but in the sense that they've been good forever. But it's CHL.
Mm-hmm.
It's not NHL. Your roster rotates.
In defense of Hunter, what I will point out is among the names that are listed there, he probably has the most NHL experience. Strictly on the basis that he's been assistant GM under Lou Lamoriello, along with Kyle Dubas, for the entire time that Lou was GM of the Leafs.
Yeah.
Only recently was Lou, like Shanahan went ahead with this plan, removed Lou, and went with Kyle Dubas as his main guy going forward. That's not to say that Kyle Dubas is amazing, but the general thought was that Hunter and Dubas were basically two of the people that were next in line to the throne, and it was a toss-up on who to choose. And the organization went with Dubas just on the basis of going with the guy that was basically hyped to be a really good GM of the future.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. It's I still think McCrimmon's still my front runner for me personally. And then I guess Hunter would be a distant second, Fuda's third, and then the last two I don't really give a crap about.
Yeah. I know, like, who's the person? Is it Lowtide that read the article? I forget.
Nielsen. Dustin Nielsen.
Nielsen, okay. In his article, he does point out a very clear thing that, like, even though the Golden Knights were a brand new team, they did have a lot in terms of leverage. They had a capacity to be able to basically bend teams to their will, sort of. That being said, he won't have, like, if he were to become the GM of the Oilers, he wouldn't have that same level of freedom to be able to get a team to suck up to the Oilers in order for them to get their way. That being said, I do think that there's a lot of like technical as well as interpersonal know-how that's necessary to work in that position, and I do think there's a lot more transferable there than, say, that's suggested by Nielsen. But that being said, I'm 50-50 between Hunter and Nielsen. I do think Hunter's a little overrated, but perhaps that's also because he preaches a very old style of hockey. And that's also perhaps why I think both of us know that Hunter is probably higher up on the likelihood chart of becoming the new GM of the Edmonton Oilers.
I mean, full honesty here, and this is absolutely juxtaposing, but if there was a choice in the world that you think they could make without everyone getting mad, do you think they would choose Keith Gretzky?
No. I don't think they choose Keith Gretzky. I think everything that people talk about in terms of a positive of Keith Gretzky isn't actually like a big positive. Like, it's more overstated than it actually is. Like, one of the comments is like Keith Gretzky has, like, since his introduction into the team as well as with the Bruins, they've drafted better. But that being said, that's still a team that drafted like went over Barzal multiple times over when Keith Gretzky was still with the organization. and then you get to like my biggest comparison is simply put that until I actually see games out of the players that have been drafted by the Oilers, freaking Craig McTavish has put out more more NHL games out of his draft picks than Keith Gretzky has.
I mean, yeah, is
In with the Oilers, let's be honest here, because Pasternak is still Pasternak. There's nothing you can get around that situation there. Look, it's not every day you're going to draft a goddamn Pasternak out of a pick like that. Pool Party, I do agree with the point that it's a bad PR move. But that being said, on the whole, if you look at knowledgeable Oilers fans, on the whole, they're very positive towards Keith Gretzky, because the GM.
He is.
But that being said, I'm just of the opinion that it's not going to happen, simply because when you look at what happened with the annual GM meeting, Keith didn't go, Nicholson went.
It's concerning for me in the sense that I don't want Keith Gretzky as a GM. Not because I don't give a flying fuck about nepotism, but the fact that he would be the best option of all the other options in the league would be a general concern for me that Nicholson hasn't done a very good job.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you 100% on that front.
Because he's not the best option. He's not.
No, at that point, I'd be going
the worst option. But if he's your best option out of all the candidates in the league, out of taking all this time,
Adam, let's be honest here. The best option right now is to sign fucking Stevie Y, and go from there. But you can't have your best option all the time.
No.
Just not available.
No.
Anyway, I guess we'll just wrap things up because it's been an hour and like 20-ish, pretty much.
I think it's about time.
But we covered pretty much a little bit of everything. The wins are coming, but again, it is a little too late. We basically have to go nearly perfect. We've only got 14 games left on the season. Finishing things off, I do think we're getting very lucky at the moment in terms of games that we're winning. And I hope we continue being that lucky, but it's very good that Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Nurse, Koskinen are all emerging as very bona fide kind of players, bona fide good players for us. Overall, I do think perhaps the GM hunt is taking a little too long for what's going on. But that being said, it's been a very thorough process. And I think most Oilers fans are very appreciative of the fact that they're not exhausting everything, and they're being very careful in their approach. Again, thank you very much for joining us for our Oil Drop Podcast number 69. Nice. And this has been myself, Varun, otherwise known as Take 5. With me today was Adam, otherwise known as Chair. And
thank you.
We will see you probably in 2 or 3 weeks. It'll likely be end of season, like a big cast, and we'll go on a break here. But just to explain our current circumstances here, we're all in like various different settings in terms of where we are. And,
I moved to Edmonton and you disappear. What the hell is that shit?
Yeah, we literally exchanged provinces. Like Anna moved to Edmonton and I moved to Ontario. I will be moving back eventually, but I'm not sure about my future. But that being said, it's all been a bit of a confusion here, so our podcast will be a little bit more regular going forward. But that being said, thank you very much. But that being said, we are very excited to continue podcasting, and we encourage guests. So if you are interested, please have a working microphone, a working
webcam.
What's it called? Webcam, and just be generally a good person that's gonna bring some positive topics forward, and just try to be a little bit creative. And that's all we ask. And if you're interested, let us know. Just email us, or just email us with whatever your pitch is in terms of what you bring. And regardless, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you likely in 2 to 3 weeks from now. See you.
Have a good one.